Okay, we left yesterday's market wanting to sell the E-mini as long as it stayed below that 67.50 area, depending on which side volume built on that particular number. Because we are sellers in the E-mini, we wanted to buy treasuries for two reasons. This week's auction, and that tends to drive prices up. The knob spread that we've been talking about got up to 12.04 overnight. So since Monday, when it was at 11, that's a point in 4/32. That's a pretty nice trade. You need to work it into your repertoire. So the Portuguese bank problem, where they defaulted yesterday, spilled into the rest of the European banking system. German treasuries were up a bunch. The only stock market in the world that was higher last night was Hong Kong's. Japanese machine orders collapsed almost 20%. Another example of how well Keynesian economics actually works in the real world, not in the halls of academia or in the halls of government, where it's used as an excuse for deficit spending. The European stock markets were heavily sold, with the heaviest selling coming in the banking sector. The Bank of England kept their policies the same, with the notation that this is the last, probably the last Bank of England board meeting where there is no dissent. And the dissent will come on when to raise interest rates. So the stock markets are selling a combination of the Fed cutting support for the market with its quantitative easing. Economic growth, when you go beneath the surface, is spotty. It's not across the board. So I think the stock markets are finally selling for the right reason. Like we said for a long time, we didn't want to think about being short the stock market till the end of the second quarter. So that's starting to play out a little bit. So here we find ourselves with resistance at 25.15 and support starting at 9, this single print right here. So I'd like to be a buyer. 5 to 9 is fairly aggressive. We've got the jobless claims number expected at 3:15. And that might give us a little momentary blip. Then the focus will switch to the opening of the stock market, if the selling is going to continue or not in our stock market. And then on to the 30-year auction. I think the dynamics of the 30-year auction will give us higher prices today. So we want a sell failure to take out 16 to 20. That's okay. It's not my preferred trade. I like the long side. I want to buy into weakness, and our first buy zone is 5 to 9, followed by 29 to 01. Have no idea what that noise is. Certainly bright, though. Okay, taking a quick look at the 30-year. Now, what's hot, Reg, for Calgary? 90? 85? I know every now and then in the Great Plains of Canada you can make it to 100. I know Montana can make it to 100. 85 to 90, okay. I really enjoy my deck when it's about 85 and the humidity's low in the summer, so especially after returning from the gym. Okay, we right now 20 to 24 is resistance. Sell failure to take that out for the 30-year. On the bond, last rotate down was 6. We're at 13, so we'll make 5 to 9 the buy here also. Hoping for a little weakness. We may have to pay up, though. That's just a fact of life. And then 01 to 29 for buy 2. Yeah, it was kind of interesting when I was flying through Alaska and north of Calgary and the rest of it, how the sun would ride the low horizon and it never would go completely dark. Made seeing the great big mosquitoes they have up there easier. Tell you, the growing season is so concentrated in the northern latitudes that the bugs are just unbelievably thick and everywhere, and they have bigger mosquitoes in Alaska than I've seen anywhere. Never spent any time in Canada, but I imagine they're about the same. Yeah, I watched this Life in the Summer in Alaska and the tundra up there, and it just got nothing but mosquitoes. That would drive me crazy. Okay, gold. Again, if you want to sleep well at night, you don't go home short treasuries, you don't go home short gold, nor crude. You go home short the stock market. Now, that's not a money-making strategy, folks. But the explosive moves are usually to the upside in treasuries and gold. Okay, we got this. We highlighted yesterday on the charts this 1350 area. We're at 43. So first sell is going to be 45, 47. Had a pretty big move. Don't think things are totally out of control in Europe. And sell 2 will be 50, 53. Let them get stops above that. The breakout came from 35. The last rotate down was 39. We're at 43, so we'll make the first buy. 38.40. Let them get stops below 38. And then we'll make it 35, 33, 35 for buy 2. There's just enough financial instability and governmental instability around the world that you really have to think hard about going home short in gold. And it doesn't mean it necessarily will rally, but it's just really hard to bring in selling from the spec community. And without selling from the spec community, it's hard to break a market. 28 to the buck, Don. I think that 138, 138.03 is probably pretty good resistance. I mean, for planning purposes, let them get stops above 138. Okay, looking at the euro, and the euro's again with banking problems. Not a clear way to, just openly print money like the Fed does, but they got ways to get around it. And negative interest rates for some deposits. It's hard to, in economic weakness, it's hard to see why the euro is as strong as it is, but it is. Again, it's a 36.50 sell, and it has been a 36 buy. So we'll make the buck to 90, buy 1. Buy 2 will be in the 65, 75 area. I really don't like the buy side. I really like getting short against 136.50. The spill is from 33. Last rotate up was 21, so 20 to 30 will be sell 1. And 50, don't think we have a shot at getting there today, will be sell 2. But it's just... I always scratch my head and wonder why in the hell this damn thing is as high as it is. And certainly my opinion on which way the market should be trading hasn't stopped it from rallying. but I think you just at the gut level, you just aren't comfortable really being long the euro for anything other than a short-term trade. Okay, crude was really quiet overnight. It is headed lower. The Ukrainian forces have surrounded Donetsk and look to be able to take over the rebels. Russia has stopped their covert support of the rebels in a big time fashion, and the Ukrainian government's going to prevail. I think Russia got everything they wanted out of this. They got the Crimea, they secured their naval port. They weren't going to lose that. They've sent a strong enough message to the Ukraine that, you screw around, we'll come in and take away the present leadership's ability to loot the country, which the present leadership won't like. And because a lot of that ability to loot the Ukraine comes from the natural gas that flows through the Ukraine, the Russian pipelines, in a sense, are about as well as protected as you can be. So ultimately, stops below 100. This attractor down here, I think, is where we're headed. And we've got a buy at 101.50, 101.25. The low really might be in. We're at 99, so let's make it 50 to 75. I think the low probably is in. And then 101, 101 and a quarter for buy 2. On the sell side, we're at resistance. The last rotate up in K period stopped at 29, so 102, 102.25. It's aggressive as hell. And 50 to 75 for sell 2. But that's where resistance is. And if you take the professional traders viewpoint, this is resistance or this is support, I'm going to lean against it, and if I'm wrong, I've got a very small loss, and if I'm right, I've got great trade location. And that aggressiveness usually pays off pretty well for those people. It keeps the losses small, and the great trade location, so you get a lot of benefits out of it. Okay, to everybody's favorite market. We left yesterday's market wanting to sell failure to take out 68 to 70. We said whichever side of 67.50 volume was created on today would be the next short-term direction of the market. And they weren't able to extend yesterday's range in the overnight session, and the E-mini sold with some help. The news out of Japan, with some help from the Fed minutes, with some help from the Portuguese bank failure, etc., etc., etc. So we're pretty confident that we can make it down to the 50 area plus or minus 2 points. And the reason for that is all this volume that we have from 47 to 52, 53 right in here. So this volume was the area that we were shooting for, and we've gotten there. So we got a pretty clean break at 53. Last rotate up was 55. So we're currently at 50. So our first sell is going to be 53, 55. Then our second sell is going to be this 58 to 60 area. I think we can take out the overnight session low. We'll move a little lower. I'm going to put a question mark buying 45 plus or minus. Pretty comfortable in the 38 to 40 area, so we'll make our buy down here in the 40 to 42. May have to pay 45s, don't know. And then 35, 37. But this trading the overnight session, especially if you can go back to sleep, you're not tied to the screen. You don't suffer from an advanced form of tickitis. I mean, it's very, very lucrative. We quite often don't have this kind of range, but this market was set up to sell, and trade location was going to come in the overnight session. About 80% of the time, the overnight session is the high or low of the day. And when you break So resistance or support tends to come in that. Yeah, Fitz, that's a great advantage for living in London. That and real estate appreciation if you happen to own your own properties. So that's all I have for right now. We'll get after the markets as they open. We'll adjust on the fly. And we look forward to another great day of trading, shaking that CME's money tree one more time today. Be with you as soon as I can. It'll take about 15 minutes or so to get everything up and around. In a bit.